Welcome. Hello, and welcome to Finding Joy Live. Today, I have with me Maria Yakimchuk from Parent on Board Coaching. Maria is a certified transformational EFT, that's emotional freedom technique coach, who helps moms who cycle through those struggling to find joy and then fulfilling their role in motherhood, right? So to really get rid of those traumatic blocks so they can live in alignment with their authentic selves and break traditional cycles and generational cycles of trauma. So thank you so much for being here with me today, Maria.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to join you.
My pleasure. I am really happy to have you here because, as you know, the title for today's broadcast is How to Find Joy by Releasing the Negative Emotions. But when I found out that you are an EFT uh, practitioner, I have had such incredible results with EFT that I thought, oh, we've got to talk about this. So tell us a little bit more about that and you.
Y- Yeah, no, I'm very excited to share with it because I also personally have had a lot of really good results with EFT, which is what I like about EFT is that it is both a healing technique, but then when you learn it, it's also a wonderful self-help technique. And so for your listeners, for anyone who hasn't heard about EFT or emotional freedom technique, some of you might know it as tapping as well. And what it is emotional acupressure. So we have a sequence of points that we do, and it's not very many. It's just some around the head, face, and under your arm. And then in the longer version, we include some finger points. So all in all, probably 20 points max that you're tapping on. Um, while saying specific phrases, which we have a setup phrase and then we have what we call a reminder phrase. And so the power in EFT is the fact that while we're tapping directly on our nerve endings. So we're able to calm down our autonomic nervous system, and then we're reprogramming it with the phrases that we're saying. So the healing starts with us using all the negatives that have happened. So, like you talk about, even though I have this trauma, I love, accept, and forgive myself. And as we tap and we talk about the trauma. And what that does is it allows your body to experience that trauma again in a safe and calm environment. And so it can actually calm down, your autonomic nervous system can calm down and release it. And that's where the power of EFT comes in. That's how we clear out traumas, make room for joy.
Thank you so much. That's great. There's a lot to unpack there in that seemingly short description that went into a lot of detail. So let's see if we can unpack it a little bit in an anecdotal way. So I know that the first time that I was introduced to this technique, it was profound for me. And I can tell you a little bit about that if that's helpful, but I'd love to know what your first exposure was, why you went in this direction.
Yeah, so my first exposure was honestly very accidental. I remember I sort of stumbled upon the Tapping Solutions app. Probably not even the app, just found something from them, started reading about it. And like a lot of people, the reason I even went down this road was out of desperation because I had some chronic health issues that I just couldn't heal through anything. Just, regular medicine didn't help. I even tried functional medicine, acupuncture, like all these things, and there's just still chronic issues couldn't get rid of. On top of that, I had postpartum depression, very severe postpartum depression after my first son, who's almost 7 years old now. And so while I got out of the severe stage, there was always that lingering depression. And that was the other thing. I couldn't get rid of it. Like I went back into therapy. I was doing all the things that you would think of doing for depression. And it wasn't lifting. It was like the best way I could describe it was like a veil. So when I saw EFT, the thought in my head was, what am I going to lose by trying this? Like that was my thought. I'm like, I've already tried everything and it's not working. So let's try this. And I did. I found this course that allowed me to get certified. And the course is broken up in this way where the first part of the course, you're really hones in on you learning how to heal yourself. And then after that, you're learning more skills to heal others. And so my thing was like, I'm going to learn that first part. I'm going to see if it actually works on me and then decide if I want to do more. And, since you, Donnalynn, have had experience with EFT and you said it was profound, it was the same for me. Just after a few sessions, I saw such significant movement in my mood and the chronic health issues. I've been a chronic migraine sufferer for most of my life. It's gotten way worse after I had kids, to the point that I had maybe like 5 to 10 days of migraine free a month. So most of my time was in pain. So when after about like maybe 4 or 5 sessions between something I was tapping on myself, I was doing it with other students, I got my migraine down to now having it no more than 5 times a month. Like, that's a big life improvement.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. As a joy coach, for me, I spend a lot of time making the connection for people between the emotional and the unseen realm, right, and the physical realm. And when I think about my first exposure to EFT, it was very much like that. I was in a big conference. It was a long time ago, and when we had big conferences. And I was in this big conference, and the main speaker was speaking, and it was for quantum biofeedback, and the person was brilliant, and I was like, I'm staying in this room. But to be honest, I had very, very bad cramps, and so I was sitting there in just excruciating pain, physical pain, right? And I just thought, well, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not letting this pain get in the way of me learning something, and seeing this person who I'd been this is the reason I went to the whole thing, right? This is why I traveled. And I was like, not missing this. I am not missing this. So the woman next to me, she must have let me sit there for maybe 2.5 minutes. I mean, it was not very long at all. And she said, would you like me to help you do something about that? And I was like, no, I'm not leaving the room. I'm not leaving the room. She was like, come on, in like 5 minutes, I can fix this. And he'll be on stage for a lot longer than that. And I was like, okay. And so we go out this little side door, and we do this technique, and she guides me in what to say, and she guides me in how to move my body, and how now I feel like I'm having a really physical experience. But she guides me through this technique that really taps in to your nervous system and your emotional experience. And inside 5 minutes, I was like pretty much not in pain. It was like not an issue going back into that ballroom and listening to the person, and I just thought, wow, that is fast, that is easy, and that does something that is both in a manifested physical realm, like we were talking about, right? Like your health issues and all of this, and you're getting rid of migraines, and you're doing all this sort of physical stuff, but you're also working on that emotional story that is a longer term, we think of as a longer term issue, but really it had an immediate impact on my world. So that's when I knew that EFT was like something I should know about, right? So that's one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on here, is like, I know you work with parents, with mothers, and letting go of those traumas, passing on the traumas, I should say, passing on the traumas from one generation to the next is often really unconscious. We don't even know we're doing it. We don't think they're traumas. We kind of go like, well, this is the way the world is. This is the way the world is. It's not the way I am. It's the way the world is, right? But can you tell me a little bit about that deprogramming process, and what the benefits are of leaning toward that releasing of trauma?
Yeah, so you're right. Like, a lot of us do perpetuate traumas because, we don't realize it, because we were raised this way, our parents were raised this way, grandparents were raised this way. That's why we talk about generational trauma. And for those of us who are sort of breaking cycles, it's like a whole other experience because you're now aware of this trauma. And that could be really painful because you're not only aware, you're seeing it, and then you're trying to change it. So there's that piece. Then there's the piece that there's a lot of expectations on women and mothers of what we should be, how, like, lots of shoulds, right? Like, a mom should do this, a mom should do that, mom should be like this, a mom should be like that. There's just so many shoulds that the women just get completely bogged down by all of this, by these expectations, by these messages and everything. So what I like to do in my 3-month coaching program is unload all of that. And so we use multiple things. We use EFT, we use self-compassion, we use reprogramming. Like, we talk about a lot of stuff, and we want to unpack kind of this heavy baggage that we all carry of these expectations that frankly are very damaging a lot of the times and aren't serving us as moms. And when we start unpacking them, is that we now have more space for things like joy and for hobbies for ourselves, because a lot of this trauma is sitting in the way that when we were little, we weren't allowed to have a voice. We perhaps were raised in these very gender normative roles where women were the caretakers. No matter what age you are, you were supposed to take care of everyone and everything. You're responsible for people's feelings. You're responsible for their physical well-being, right? And like, what do we do as moms? We have kids that we need to take care of, right? And there is a good way of doing it, but then there's a way that really takes over everything and takes away from you as a person. And so with EFT, we're able to come in and look at specific memories and instances that were the most impactful in your life, right? And work on those. And then you end up having this domino effect where things that happened later are just going to clear by themselves because we kind of got rid of the underlying core issue, and then all these other things kind of clear out. So that's the good part. And the other thing is, sometimes, like, if you come in for emotional issues, you might see that you have physical issues resolved as a result of it, because a lot of our chronic issues are stored stress in our body, are stored traumas in their body, and we hold on to it. It sits in our autonomic nervous system. Our hormones are out of whack. They're firing differently because we're constantly in this fight or flight thing. We don't even realize it because chances are it's coming from our childhood. We were raised this way, or we were in a school that perhaps put all the stress on us. And when we start clearing it out, we all of a sudden realize, like, oh, our system can function completely differently, and we can be healthy, and we can feel good. And one thing for me that I think was, aside from the depression, was keeping me from being joyful, was the migraines. I mean, it's really hard to be joyful when you're in pain almost every single day. So when you clear out those chronic issues, you all of a sudden figure out, oh, well, I'm not a miserable person, I was just in pain all this time.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing up. So a lot of people might have heard about, you know, he kind of for some reason the word just went right out of my head, but sort of the cascade that can happen in the body when we do things like detox and sort of more deeper, more difficult things, that sometimes when you work on the things that are a problem for you, you go from even as simple as really physical, as like smokers who stop smoking and then they become really sick after they stop smoking, and they're like, why did I do that, right? Because the body is trying to catch up, and it's like, oh, okay, we could take out the garbage, right? And so there's a cascade that often happens there. But I love that you bring up that there is often a cascade that happens from raising our vibration, right? It's a different kind of cascade where things get cleaned up that we didn't even expect to get cleaned up, and also that we didn't even know were an issue. Like, that wasn't a thing, and it's one of the real reasons why working on joy with my clients is really the primary thing, because when we work with going toward the thing that we really want, then, like you said, a lot of the other things can fall away and become non-issues that we think they're really big issues. We have to solve them. We have to solve them right now, right? But when we get the focus in the right direction, We don't actually have to solve them, they solve themselves. So I love that you're bringing that up. So now on this podcast, we don't do a huge podcast, right? We just do 15, 20 minutes. And so I want you to tell me a little bit about what you've got going on in parentsonboard.com in your coaching business.
Yeah. So I right now offer sort of two different packages, kind of a small package of just EFT sessions. So that's perfect for somebody who, let's say, is having an issue right now, right? And wants to solve it. I also have a much bigger package, which is the 90-day package that I was talking about, which is much deeper healing, where we go in with the moms and we sit down, take a very detailed history, try to understand what is really underneath, what is sapping the joy out of her life, why does she not feel like she can go on, and then we clear it out with EFT. We bring in self-compassion work, because a lot of us, we are not raised with a compassionate voice. We're raised with a critical voice. We have a very strong inner critic, functions really well, but inner critics are only good for a little bit there. It's our immature, childish voice trying to protect us the best it can. We want to replace that with something better. So we work on that. We build boundaries. We replace our voice from a critical voice to a compassionate voice. We learn how to find joy. We learn how to balance our body, how to be in tune with your body, because for some people, when you've been in a constant state of stress, as I mentioned before, you don't really notice what you're supposed to feel like. And that's actually been one of the things that I love the most when I have sessions with people who didn't realize how stressed they were when they come in. And then after literally 2-3 rounds of tapping, they're like, wow, I don't feel the tension. I didn't even realize I had that tension there, right? But we live like this, and it's not good for us. It's like your body knows it, even if your brain isn't registering that this is wrong, because to your brain, this is reality, right? And that's what we work on. We clear everything up. We replace it with a much more compassionate voice. We replace it with you finding joy and activities and things that make you more than just a mom. Because while being a mom is important and great, it should never be your whole identity. You were a person before. You didn't stop being a person after motherhood. So that is what we work on. This is my one-on-one coaching. With my 1 month package, I'm pretty flexible. You buy your 4-pack, use them at your own speed and leisure, or fast. I've had some people needing to do 4 sessions in 1 week because there's a lot of urgency, right? So that's what I offer there. And then if you are looking for more structure and something long term, that's my 3-month package. I also write blogs still, so you can find some more information on parentsonboard.com about motherhood, about burnout, about a little bit about EFT, some lighter topics like some self-care and things like that. Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty active on Instagram. I'm trying to put out videos on TikTok to keep educating and explaining to people what EFT is, what it can do for you, and how it can help you, specifically for moms, because, I've been that mother who was lacking joy, couldn't climb out of depression. And so once I did, and kind of I saw my world open up, I really wanted to pass that on to other moms.
That's great. That's great. I love that you bring up that Salye scale, right? Where that scale in our bodies, where things are a problem, and our bodies go like, whoop, 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 it's a problem. You guys should do something about it up there. And we don't, because we're living in this world where we work for 8 hours, and we day after day, we go and do things that we just don't have the time or the energy or the focus to do those things, to take care of ourselves. And so I love that. So what happens over time is that the alarms stop sounding in our bodies, right? So we go into this adaptation phase, and eventually into an exhaustion phase, where the alarm it's not even there anymore. It's like, yeah, forget it. I give up. And that happens in all sorts of physical conditions that we develop over time. So I love that you bring that up as well. So if there was one thing that you would say to somebody who wants to just make a start, what would you tell them to do? What is the first thing that someone might do to get ready for this kind of coaching?
I would get honest with yourself. I would take some time to sit down with a piece of paper, a journal, whatever you want to write it in, and maybe start jotting down some issues, the primary issues that are coming up for you. So I will give this as an example that we did for our certification program. It is called a personal peace procedure. And what we were required to do was to sit down and come up with 100 things that have happened over the course of our lives that were, for us, were an issue. And it could have been something as little as, you were in first grade and your best friend called you ugly, right? Or it could have been something really, really big that happened, like, you witnessed a car crash of your friend or something like that, right? So we wrote out 100 of these things. And then after that, we were going to be working systematically and clearing them out. So to prepare for this process, I would like you to get honest with yourself and write out. I don't need you to write out 100 things, but maybe come up with 10 things that are really sticking out in your life that you still can't get over, like things that you keep talking about all the time. And even when you say, oh, no, I'm so over it, but, and then you continue in that story, like those are the kind of things I want you to know, because those are the things that are sitting in your body. Those are the things that are poisoning your body. And when we go in and clear that out, you're going to all of a sudden realize, oh, I've really been holding on to this and it has really been hurting me.
So true. So true. Well, before we go, I just want to mention to all of our listeners and watchers that you can learn more about what joy coaching can do for you through my website at donnalynn.blog. And of course, actually right now I have this really great, let me hide this one so you can see this other one. I have this really great joy assessment at joyousonpurpose.com, and it will help you to do a little bit of that digging that we were just talking about, but in a different direction. So I say do both, right?
Yeah.
Sit down, make your list, and connect. Definitely, especially if you're a parent or a mother and you're wanting to really release those blockages, make sure that you connect to Maria. And if you're looking for more joy, you want to really bring that element into your life, and you're not sure kind of where you sit. A lot of times people that come to me, they say, oh, I'm totally joyous. And then when we start really talking about it and going through that assessment, there's a whole bunch of things that actually are in the way. Those stories that you were talking about, right? Those stories that we tell ourselves over and over again. So take a minute to go through that joy assessment, and hopefully we'll get to connect on the other side of that. Well, thank you so much, Maria, for being here with me today and being so incredible and a great coach to tell us all about that EFT.
Thank you for having me. I was very honored to be able to share it with your audience. And I hope, I think people can find a lot of benefit in working with both you and I, because these things are very connected. You got to clear stuff out, and then you got to raise the vibration.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's exactly really where I sit in the marketplace, right? Is that there are a lot of people who, some very good like you and some not as good, and that can help you to kind of clear out the baggage. But there's a certain point at which it's hard to get from really good to really great. And it's hard to do it alone, right?
Yes.
Because our surroundings, they are, this is our best thinking got us where we are, right? So our surroundings are full of people that we collected who were a match to us before we did any work.
Yes.
So definitely. But again, thank you so much. And I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.